Transformation happens in silence because the deepest shifts within you rarely arrive with noise or applause. They emerge in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts, confronting your habits, your fears, and the truth about who you are and who you want to become. In that stillness, you begin to recognize the patterns that have held you back and the potential that has always been waiting to surface. It's in that solitude that the real work begins. The kind of work that can't be performed for an audience because it requires honesty, vulnerability, and a willingness to break yourself open to rebuild stronger. In silence, you strip away the pressure of external judgment, which frees you to make decisions that align with your true purpose. You stop trying to live up to the expectations of people who don't share your vision. You stop seeking approval from those who cannot understand the depth of your dreams. Silence becomes a protective shield, allowing your growth to unfold without interference, doubt, or distraction. It becomes the environment where clarity replaces confusion and determination replaces hesitation. This quiet space allows you to observe the areas in your life that need refining. You begin to notice the small habits that chip away at your potential, the thoughts that limit your confidence, and the behaviors that sabotage your progress. Transformation requires this level of awareness, and awareness requires stillness. When you step away from the noise of comparison, competition, and external voices, you finally gain the mental room to hear your own instincts again. During silent transformation, your confidence starts to bloom from within, not from compliments or recognition. You learn to trust your process because you are the only one witnessing the sweat, the struggles, and the sacrifices. You see your incremental progress, the small victories that no one else knows about, and those private wins become the foundation of unshakable belief in yourself. This kind of confidence cannot be taken from you because it was built without the involvement of others. Silence also teaches you patience. Transformation is not instant, and growth rarely follows a straight line. In the quiet, you learn to appreciate the slow, steady shaping of your character. You learn that meaningful change is a marathon, not a sprint, and that the journey is just as important as the destination. When no one is watching, you learn to stay committed because the process itself becomes your motivation, not the praise that comes afterward. As you evolve in the shadows, you begin to notice a stronger version of yourself emerging. You start making decisions based on who you're becoming, not who you used to be. You begin shedding old identities, outdated beliefs, and behaviors that no longer align with your vision. You slowly detach from the person you were and step into the person you're meant to be, a transition that requires intentional solitude and deep internal work. Silent transformation forces you to rely solely on your discipline. Without the accountability of an audience, you must learn to show up for yourself. You must learn to push through resistance, even when motivation is low or progress feels invisible. This is where true strength is built, not in moments of excitement, but in moments of consistency when no one is clapping for you. Discipline becomes your guiding force, molding your future step by step. In the quiet, you begin to understand that real change isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. You become less concerned with external validation and more focused on internal alignment. You stop chasing quick wins or shortcuts because you realize that the most powerful transformation comes from the slow, steady work of refining your mindset, your habits, and your character. This internal shift becomes your true measure of success. As your transformation continues to unfold behind the scenes, you develop a deeper gratitude for the journey. You learn to appreciate the moments of struggle because they shape your resilience. You learn to value the quiet victories because they represent authentic growth. You learn to embrace the silence because it becomes the space where your vision grows stronger, your purpose becomes clearer, and your identity evolves into something more powerful than before. And over time, the silence that once felt lonely becomes empowering because you realize it wasn't emptiness, it was preparation. It was rebuilding, it was refining, it was the forging of a new version of yourself, shaped not by noise or attention, but by intention, discipline, and inner strength. Focus inward, not outward, because the direction of your life is determined by what happens within you, not by the opinions, actions, or expectations of the people around you. When you shift your attention inward, you stop living in reaction to external noise and begin operating from a place of intention. You start recognizing that the only person you truly have control over is yourself, your habits, your mindset, your decisions, and your responses. This internal focus becomes the foundation for a stronger, more stable version of you, one that isn't easily shaken by circumstances or other people's judgments. When you focus inward, you stop wasting energy, comparing your journey to someone else's timeline. You begin to understand that someone else's progress is not your competition, and someone else's success is not your failure. Comparison steals creativity, drains confidence, and distracts you from your own path. By turning inward, you reclaim your power and remind yourself that your pace, your growth, and your goals are uniquely yours. This shift in focus allows you to use your energy for building instead of doubting. Inward focus also sharpens your self-awareness. You begin to notice patterns in your thinking and behavior that either move you forward or hold you back. You identify the fears that keep you stagnant and the beliefs that limit your potential. You recognize the habits that drain your energy and the choices that strengthen your character. This self-understanding gives you the clarity to make adjustments that align with the person you want to become, not the person you feel pressured to be. As you turn your attention inward, your emotional resilience increases. Instead of being controlled by external triggers or situations you can't influence, you learn to manage your reactions. You develop the ability to pause, reflect, and respond intentionally rather than impulsively. This emotional discipline becomes a hidden strength that transforms how you handle challenges, relationships, and setbacks. It gives you the power to remain grounded even when everything around you feels unstable. Focusing inward allows you to build a mindset that supports your goals. You begin to plant thoughts that create confidence, purpose, and determination. You stop feeding yourself with doubt and start cultivating belief. You realize that your mind is the birthplace of every action you take and every result you achieve. When you intentionally shape your inner world, your outer world begins to shift accordingly because TS influence your behavior, and your behavior shapes your outcomes. Internal focus also frees you from the need for external approval. You no longer make decisions based on what others might think, but on what aligns with your values, your vision, and your long-term growth. This freedom allows you to pursue goals that excite you, not goals that impress others. It allows you to choose paths that fulfill you, not paths that fit into someone else's idea of success. When you stop seeking validation, you start living authentically, and that authenticity elevates every part of your life. When your attention is inward, you start recognizing your strengths more clearly. You stop minimizing your capabilities and start appreciating the unique gifts you possess. You see the potential that has always been within you, waiting to be activated. This recognition builds confidence from the inside out, a kind of confidence that doesn't depend on praise or recognition because it's rooted in genuine self-understanding. You begin to trust yourself more, rely on yourself more, and believe in yourself more. Turning inward also helps you stay aligned with your purpose. Instead of being pulled in a dozen directions by what others are doing, you become anchored in your why. You stay focused on what matters to you, what energizes you, and what moves you closer to the life you're building. This inner alignment gives you direction, consistency, and clarity, helping you resist distractions and stay committed even when motivation fades. An inward focus brings you closer to personal accountability. You stop blaming circumstances, people, or timing for where you are in life. You begin taking responsibility for your decisions, your habits, and your progress. This ownership might feel uncomfortable at first, but it becomes empowering because it reminds you that you have the ability to change. Improv. E and grow. Accountability is the path to transformation. And it begins with looking inward, not outward. Over time, focusing inward helps you cultivate peace. You stop expecting the outside world to give you confidence, happiness, or direction. Instead, you build those things within yourself. You create a sense of stability that doesn't disappear when people leave or situations shift. This peace becomes your foundation, your strength, and your advantage, allowing you to move through life with intention, purpose, and unshakable inner power. Discipline outweighs distraction because discipline is the force that keeps you aligned with your purpose when everything around you is designed to pull you away from it. Distractions are easy, tempting, and always available. But discipline is intentional, demanding, and requires conscious choice. When you choose discipline over distraction, you're not just choosing productivity, you're choosing who you become. You're choosing your future over your impulses, your vision over your comfort, and your goals over temporary pleasures. Distraction thrives on immediacy. It offers quick hits of pleasure, quick escapes from reality, and quick relief from discomfort. But those moments of escape come at the cost of progress. Discipline, on the other hand, thrives on consistency. It doesn't offer instant gratification, but it provides long-term fulfillment. It reminds you that every action has a consequence and that every choice either strengthens your future or weakens it. Discipline is the quiet, steady force that builds momentum even when motivation fades. Choosing discipline requires awareness of how easily time slips away when you allow yourself to drift. Notifications, entertainment, and mindless routines can consume hours without adding any value to your life. Discipline is what snaps you back into focus. It reminds you that your me is too precious to waste, and that every minute spent on distractions is a minute stolen from your goals. Discipline teaches you to protect your attention like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. When you make discipline your priority, you start to create structure in your life. You establish habits that support your growth, routines that anchor your day, and boundaries that protect your energy. These structures are what allow you to make consistent progress, even when life becomes chaotic. Distraction thrives in chaos, but discipline creates order. With order comes clarity, and with clarity comes the power to keep moving forward with purpose. Discipline also strengthens your ability to say no. No to procrastination, no to unnecessary commitments, no to anything that doesn't align with your progress. This isn't about being rigid, it's about being intentional. Every no protects your yes, and every yes carries weight when you're choosing from a place of purpose rather than impulse. Distraction wants you to say yes to everything, but discipline teaches you to choose wisely and strategically. As you continue practicing discipline, you begin to understand the value of delayed gratification. You realize that the effort you put in today may not give you immediate results, but it builds the foundation for huge results later. This mindset frees you from the anxiety of quick outcomes and allows you to focus on the process. Distraction chases feelings, discipline builds futures. When you embrace the long game, you stop comparing yourself to others and start competing with your own potential. Discipline also builds resilience. When you choose to stay committed, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient, you develop mental toughness. You learn that your feelings don't dictate your actions and that your progress isn't dependent on your mood. Distraction wins when you let your emotions control you, but discipline wins when you take action despite your emotions. This resilience becomes the backbone of your success, supporting you through challenges others would walk away from. The more you choose discipline over distraction, the more you start to trust yourself. You prove to yourself that you can follow through, that you can stay consistent, and that you can keep promises you make to yourself. This self-trust becomes a powerful source of confidence, not because someone else validated you, but because you validated yourself. Distraction destroys confidence by creating regret. Discipline builds confidence by creating progress. Over time, discipline becomes a lifestyle rather than a struggle. It becomes the natural choice because you've trained your mind to prioritize what matters most. You begin to crave progress more than entertainment and growth more than comfort. You see, results that motivate you to stay committed, and those results become a reminder that discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Distraction can't offer this sense of purpose, direction, or fulfillment. And as discipline becomes your default, distractions lose their power. They no longer feel appealing because you understand the cost. You realize that discipline may require sacrifice, but distraction demands a far greater one. Discipline asks for effort. Distraction steals your potential. Discipline shapes your future. Distraction delays it. With discipline as your guide, you create a life built on intentional choices, steady progress, and unwavering commitment to your vision. Let results speak louder than words, because results carry a weight and credibility that no explanation, justification, or promise can match. When you commit to producing results, instead of talking about what you plan to do, you shift your energy from seeking validation to achieving transformation. Words can inspire, but results confirm. Words can create excitement, but results create proof. When your actions produce visible change, you no longer need to convince anyone of your intentions, because the evidence stands on its own. When you let your results speak, you free yourself from the pressure of trying to impress people. You no longer feel the need to explain your goals, defend your dreams, or prove your worth. People can question your ideas, but they can't argue with your outcomes. They can doubt your abilities, but they can't deny your achievements. Results silence critics, dissolve doubt, and create a presence that speaks even when you choose to stay silent. Focusing on results shifts your mindset from talking to doing. It forces you to prioritize execution over expectation. Many people talk about their ambitions, but only a few are willing to work with the seed. Consistency required to bring those ambitions to life. When you choose to work in silence and let your outcomes reveal your dedication, you build a reputation rooted in performance rather than promises. You become someone who delivers instead of someone who just declares. Letting your results speak also strengthens your confidence. Every accomplishment, no matter how small, becomes evidence that you're capable of more. When you see the progress you've created through discipline and effort, you no longer need external validation to feel worthy. You begin trusting your abilities on a deeper level because you have tangible proof of your growth. Your confidence becomes internal, unshakable, and self-generated. When you shift from speaking to producing, your priorities change. Instead of focusing on how others perceive you, you center your attention on improving yourself. You choose actions that bring you closer to your goals rather than actions that make you look good temporarily. This mindset creates long-term success because it aligns your daily habits with your long-term vision. You stop performing for approval and start performing for progress. Letting your results speak creates a natural separation between you and those who rely only on talk. People who focus on words often stay stuck in cycles of planning, dreaming, and announcing. But when you focus on results, you move beyond that cycle. You start accomplishing what others only discuss. Your results place you in a different category because you've proven you can execute, persist, and produce when it matters most. Results also inspire others in a way words simply cannot. People may listen to your advice, but they believe in your example. When they see what you've built, what you've overcome, and what you've achieved, they gain belief that they can do the same. Your results become a silent mentorship for those who, rewatching your journey. You don't have to preach or persuade, your progress becomes the message. Letting your results speak also protects your energy. When you talk too much about your plans, you give people the opportunity to discourage you, distract you, or influence your direction. But when you keep your head down and work, you stay focused, grounded, and aligned. You eliminate unnecessary opinions and keep your vision pure, allowing your actions to move you forward without interference from outside voices. The power of results lies in their permanence. Words fade, intentions change, and promises can be forgotten, but results remain. They become part of your track record, your reputation, and your identity. They build credibility that opens doors, builds trust, and creates opportunities that talking could never produce. Results follow you, speak for you, and represent you long after the work is done. And when you consistently produce results, you no longer need to chase recognition, because recognition begins to chase you. People notice, opportunities appear. Respect grows, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through action, discipline, and proof. Letting your results speak louder than words becomes your greatest advantage, your strongest message, and your most powerful form of expression. Greatness is built through unseen effort, because the moments that truly shape you are the ones nobody else witnesses. The world only sees the highlight reel, the achievements, the breakthroughs, the victories, but the foundation of all that success is poured in silence, in struggle, and in solitude. It's in those private hours when you choose discipline over comfort, dedication over distraction, and persistence over excuses. Those hidden choices made when no one is applauding or encouraging you become the building blocks of the greatness others will eventually. Why admire? Unseen effort forces you to rely on your internal drive rather than external validation. When no one is watching, you can't depend on praise to push you forward. You must find your own reasons. This creates a deeper level of commitment because the work is no longer about proving something to the world. It becomes about becoming the person you know you're meant to be. You learn to push yourself, not because someone expects it, but because you expect it. And that expectation fuels a level of excellence that can't be faked or forced. Behind every great accomplishment lies a history of invisible work that required patience, resilience, and consistency. These are the early mornings and late nights, the hours spent refining your craft, the days you chose progress even when motivation was nowhere to be found. While others slept, you were preparing. While others were entertained, you were building. While others waited for the perfect moment, you were creating advantage through repetition and discipline. It's these unseen investments that later compound into extraordinary outcomes. Unseen effort also cultivates a sense of humility. You realize that greatness doesn't need an audience to grow. It needs focus, intention, and sacrifice. The quiet grind teaches you that success isn't about seeking recognition, but about becoming competent, capable, and confident through experience. You don't need to announce what you're working on because you trust the process enough to let the results reveal the truth. This humility becomes part of your strength, grounding you even as you rise. When you commit to unseen effort, you build resilience through struggle. There will be days when progress feels slow, days when challenges feel overwhelming, and days when quitting seems easier than continuing. But every time you choose to push through, you strengthen your mindset. You learn to adapt, to adjust, to endure. The world might not see the battles you fight internally, but each battle sharpens your character, toughens your spirit, and prepares you for the bigger victories ahead. Greatness also requires the courage to make sacrifices no one will ever know about. The opportunities you decline, the comforts you give up, the social invitations you turn down. All of these decisions happen silently. People may only see the final outcome, but they will never fully understand what it cost you. And that's what makes the journey so powerful. You are building a future through choices that only you can make and only you can fully appreciate. Unseen effort teaches you mastery. Mastery isn't built overnight. It's built through repetition, correction, failure, and improvement. It's built through the hours of practice no one records, the revisions no one notices, and the adjustments no one acknowledges. Mastery is the reward of those who are willing to do the boring work, the repetitive work, and the work that doesn't feel glamorous but is essential for greatness. This quiet pursuit separates those who merely dream from those who truly excel. As you keep putting in unseen effort, you develop a momentum that becomes impossible to stop. Each small step forward, each minor improvement, each practice session compounds over time. What once felt insignificant becomes meaningful. What once felt slow becomes powerful. What once felt hidden becomes undeniable. This momentum becomes the engine that drives you through obstacles, elevates your performance, and ultimately brings your vision to life. The unseen work also shapes your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted with their own dreams. This identity shift is one of the most valuable outcomes of unseen effort because it transforms how you view yourself and what you believe you are capable of achieving. You don't become great by accident. You become great through intentional, consistent effort that no one else needs to witness for it to matter. And over time, all those hidden hours, private struggles, and silent sacrifices begin to show. Your skill grows. Your confidence rises. Your results become undeniable. People may call it talent, luck, or natural ability, but you will know the truth. It was built through the discipline, resilience, and consistency you practiced long before anyone ever noticed you. Greatness is never the product of what's seen. It is always the result of the effort the world never saw. Action starts now because every moment you hesitate is a moment you lose, and every second you delay is a second that slows your momentum. Too many dreams die in the space between intention and execution. People wait for clarity, wait for motivation, wait for the perfect time, but the perfect time is a myth. Progress doesn't begin when circumstances align. It begins when you decide to move despite the imperfections around you. Taking action now forces you to break the cycle of overthinking and step into the reality of doing. When you choose to act now, you bypass the trap of procrastination that keeps so many people stuck. Procrastination is subtle. It feels harmless. It disguises itself as preparation, and it convinces you that there will always be more time. But opportunities expire, energy fades, and seasons shift. Action is the antidote to delay. It pulls you out of the comfort of planning and pushes you into the discomfort of progress, where real growth happens and real results begin to form. Action creates clarity in a way that thinking never will. You can plan for years, strategize endlessly, and wait until everything makes sense, but you will never truly understand the path until you start walking it. The first steps you take reveal obstacles you couldn't foresee, strengths you didn't know you had, and adjustments you never would have made from a distance. Movement reveals direction. Once you take action, the path becomes clearer, the decisions become easier, and the next step becomes visible. When you start now, you build momentum that becomes your greatest advantage. Momentum is what carries you through the days when motivation is low and energy is scattered. It's what transforms small steps into major progress over time. Every action you take becomes a brick in the structure you're building. At first, the progress may feel slow or insignificant, but action compounds. The small daily moves you make turn into habits, habits turn into consistency, and consistency turns into transformation. Action also builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come from thinking about what you want to do. It comes from proving to yourself that you can do it. Each step forward reinforces the belief that you are capable, worthy, and equipped to handle what lies ahead. Even when you make mistakes, action teaches you, strengthens you, and prepares you. Confidence is shaped through movement, not imagination. And the sooner you start, the sooner that inner strength begins to grow. Starting now forces you to confront the excuses that have held you back. Excuses feel comfortable because they protect you from risk, judgment, and failure, but they also protect you from success. When you take action, you expose those excuses as nothing more than fears disguised as logic. You realize that you don't need more time, more resources, or more certainty. You need more courage. Taking action dissolves excuses because it proves they were never real barriers, only mental ones. When you act now, you change your relationship with fear. Fear thrives in stillness. It grows stronger when you sit and think about everything that could go wrong. But fear loses its power once you move. Action disrupts fear by shifting your focus from what may happen to what you are doing. It forces your mind to engage with the present moment instead of the imagined worst-case scenarios. With each step, fear gets quieter and determination gets louder. Action also separates you from the masses. Most people talk, dream, plan, and hope, but very few are willing to execute. When you choose to take action, you immediately put yourself in the minority. You begin to stand out, not because you are louder, but because you are moving. People respect action. Opportunities respond to action. Life changes through action. The moment you start doing instead of waiting, you shift into a category of your own. Starting now creates opportunities you couldn't predict. When you move, doors open, connections form, and possibilities reveal themselves in unexpected ways. The world rewards those who take initiative. You may not know exactly where your first step will lead, but taking it positions you to encounter people, knowledge, and experiences that staying still would have kept out of reach. Action expands your world while inaction limits it. And when you choose to act now, you take control of your story. You stop being a spectator in your own life and become the one steering the direction of your future. You stop waiting for circumstances to change and become the force that changes them. You stop hoping for transformation and begin creating it with your own hands. Everything you want, growth, progress, success, fulfillment, begins with a single decision to stop waiting and start moving, and that decision can only be made in the present moment, right here, right now.